when it comes to Australia's own defence, just this month, Canberra signed a mutual defence treaty with its northern and closest neighbour, Papua New Guinea, known as the Pukpuk Treaty. It's Australia's third such alliance after the United States and New Zealand, and the first in 7 decades. And in fact, their foreign ministers are meeting today in Canberra in the wake of that signing. China, through social media and in Papua New Guinea, newspapers has issued a warning to both Port Moresby and Canberra that the, quote, Pacific region should not become an arena of big power rivalry, and no country should treat the island countries as its, quote, backyard or engage in zero-sum competition and exclusive arrangements. Mandy, let me come to you. So do you think this is ironic given China's own security pact with the Solomon Islands? It also has arrangements with Vanuatu, and there was a leak back in 2022 or perhaps within the year, which talked about a secret naval base on the Solomon Islands.
Yeah, so actually, I'm not so surprised Australia will sign this treaty with Papua New Guinea, because these two countries, actually, they already signed lots of defense pact with each other from 1971. They already signed, they will provide, Australia will provide Papua New Guinea their defense, their police, cooperation, their logistic for the military,
right, but this time the very important difference is the mutual defense treaty.
Yes,
aspect.
So they just put forward, and I think this is an action actually just trying to tell China, but also warn China that, because China last year, or from 2 years ago, they tried to enlarge their investment in New Guinea, lots of monies and basically infrastructure, lots of established project over there, and they will try to do more. And we also can expect Australia will sign similar more treaties with the Pacific Island countries.
Right, and Ronan, let's drill down to why is China so concerned? This is a mutual defense treaty between two neighbors. What's it got to do with China?
Yeah, so basically, this is the very first time that Papua New Guinea has a mutual defense, framework, and this framework is very.
So it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's like a. I don't know if we can call it like a watershed, but it's a big deal. It signified the very first, and maybe more will be in the making. So that's worrisome for China or Chinese decision maker, and. Actually, the reason why China got so scared or even worried is because it's gonna put a limit or put a leash on China's, expansion of influence in the region.
I just want to really help our viewers on this. Is China planning to attack Australia?
No.
Okay, so what's the issue at hand?
Yeah, so what they are worried about is the snowballing effect. Because this treaty actually signifies, a collaboration, a deeper collaboration between, PNG and Australia and the United States. So it's also about the United States. And like I said, if there's plenty more, similar treaties in a way, so that sort of signify maybe China will be content in this region.
Is it about Taiwan?
Potentially, yeah, because despite the fact that we can now rely on Australia and to anticipate that they are going to play as large a role that Tokyo will try to play, but in terms of logistically, Canberra will play a certain role, and if you factor Australia, if you factor in United States in this calculation, there's not a surprise that Beijing got really upset.
Andrew, I'm just going to play a clip from James Marape, who appeared to equivocate on the mutual defence aspect in an ABC interview in relation to war with China. Watch.
Is it possible that PNG could make a decision not to be involved in a conflict Australia was engaged in with China?
There's a high possibility when that event happens. PNG has a sovereign in itself. This construct of treaty was constructed within the fullest ambit of respecting sovereignties in making their own calls.
So if you sign a treaty that talks about facing a common danger, isn't that exactly what a common danger is?
Likewise, Australia, PNG was engaged in a construct. We would not expect, or in a conflict, we don't expect Australia to drop everything else and run to us. The treaty has provisions where there'll be consultations, they'll be engaged. There's a finality of making call that rests with respective defense force commanders.
So, can the Mutual Defense Treaty be taken seriously if there's this admission by the leader of PNG?
Absolutely. I think it's a huge achievement by the Albanese government, credit where due. You know, the Solomons was an absolute wake-up bomb for Australia in terms of, you know, the deal that was signed with Beijing. PNG, just to give the viewers a bit of a framework, you know, at the time of independence 50 years ago, it was an Australian administered territory at the end of World War II. So the two countries have a long history, and of course the battles of World War II on the Kokoda Track in Papua New Guinea are the stuff of legend in both countries. So there's a great deal of kinship. But today, Papua New Guinea has a population of 15 to 17 million. By 2030, that's estimated to be about, 2050 rather, estimated to be about 30 million. So it is by far the most important and strategic country in the region.
But in terms of the defense side of things, I mean, if, for example, Marape did not decide to take action, say if Australia was attacked, what else does this treaty, what are the components of it that still give Australia an advantage?
Yeah, well, once again, going back to World War II history, on Manus Island, the Lombrom base, which was where General MacArthur was based for a period of time, has recently seen $500 million worth of investments and upgrades, which will suit all Australia, New Guinea, and the United States. So I think there's an awareness. Australia might be the devil that Port Moresby knows, but the fact is we've been mates, we're trusted for a long period of time. Hopefully this alliance will work out well.
And what I understand is that there's access to the bases. Ronan, do you want to jump in? Bases and weapons, pre-positioning.
Yeah. So I just want to say that, you know, on the ground, actually, these two countries have already engaged in some cooperation in terms of, you know, training, logistic support, and joint patrol. So in a way, this treaty can be seen as efforts to actually institutionalize and legalize the cooperation already on the ground. Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's go to the final question. Singapore will enhance the Australian Defence Force's access in and through its territory. The two sides signed a memorandum of understanding this month in an initiative that, quote, builds on Singapore's existing support for Australia's long-standing presence in Singapore since the formation of the five-power defence arrangements in 1971. Singapore continues. As Australia seeks to step up its presence in our region, the Singapore Armed Forces will support more frequent port calls and stopovers by the ADF's vessels and aircraft. So, Mandy, why now? Why does the Australian Defence Force need to step up its presence in this region?
Yes, I think we can still look at this event from the perspective of the geographic arrangement, because when we look at Australia, and just like we mentioned about like already signed treaties with the PNG, and now it's the Singapore to upgrade their cooperations to become, they call like a comprehensive strategic partnership 2.0. And for this one, I think the most important point is about they allow each other to enter more assets, the military assets for each other, which is similar to the reciprocal assets agreement, similar to that. So maybe for them, the next step, they will sign this kind of like agreement to make their military exchange or military cooperation and training more cooperatively and more like access to each other. And
so in terms of the access to that Australia will have Singapore, I mean, what are the key defence bases? Is it Changi Naval Base? Is it the Malacca Strait?
It's actually they are trying to co-build the military training bases in Australia, because Singapore, although they have very good, they have very good like navy, and also they
don't have the space, do they?
Yeah.
But Ronan, I don't think China's worried about Singapore, are they? They're worried about Australia and possibly the US. Is that correct? What does this give Australia? Either in peacetime or in wartime? Yeah,
so basically, everything boils down to the key sea lanes controlled by Singapore. And the fact that Singapore is willing to work with Australia and the United States actually is a warning sign in the eyes of in the eyes of Chinese decision makers. And so, let alone the deeper cooperation between the Singaporean and Australian navies, right? So, on the one hand, it's a key strategic location. On the other hand, is a willingness to actually engage in actual collaboration. So it's not just about the site; it's the actual on-the-ground cooperation.
Okay.
Sometimes it signifies a willingness in the region that perhaps there are some other countries in the region that are also willing to engage in this kind of cooperation.